Peace, everybody. It's your boy Trey the Creator, and welcome to Creators Corner. Today is Thursday, October the 15th, 2020. And again, welcome. Excuse me. Today, we're going to talk about a plethora of things. But before we get started, please make sure that you like the video. Make sure that you hit subscribe. Make sure that you hit the notification bell at the bottom of the video. Make sure that you share the video. I want to get to 100 subscribers at least by November 7th. If I can do that, I would greatly appreciate that. I want the channel to grow. I want to continue to, speak to more people and continue to just, talk, say what's in my head to my people and, give people what's in my head and, let people know what's going through my head and just, have conversation and dialogue and just let people know stuff they might not have known or stuff they haven't thought of, Please just share the video, like, subscribe, also comment too. And, let's get into it. So, what's the first thing we're going to talk about today? We're going to talk about my man Ice Cube. Ice Cube is the headline of the past 24 hours. Apparently, people are either upset with him or, are happy to see what he's doing. I guess when you're such a big figure, or a polarizing figure, you're gonna have people that love what you do and hate what you do. But over the past, I believe 2 months or so, Ice Cube has been pushing this document that he had created called A Contract with Black America, and essentially, he put the contract out for people in the Republican and the Democratic Party to look at, review, study, and either accept it or not accept it. But if they did not accept it, we would not vote. So it basically would be, something that would help us. And if they implemented this into one of their policies, we would give them their vote. Cool. So he basically said that, a few months ago that, this is for both of y'all. Whoever agrees to this, you should get our vote. So, as of yesterday, apparently Trump and his administration essentially has taken interest into the Black Contract in America. He announced it and said that he's talking with the Republican Party. And I saw a bunch of people just go in on this dude. They're talking about, why are you dealing with the Republicans? We shouldn't be dealing with them. We need to get Trump out of office. And I'm just thinking in my head, like, so let me get this straight. This man puts a contract out that says either the Republican or Democratic Party can implement this into policy. He gives them more than enough time to look over it. And then because the Democrats also said that they would look into the policy after the election. So because they said they would look into it after the election and we want to sit here and make change for us before the election, black people upset that he's talking with the Republican Party. I just find that to be somewhat insane. Politics is about business. It's not about if I like you or not. That's the problem with black people. We sit here and vote off of if we like you or not, or who's the lesser of two evils. What type of crazy mindset is that? It's either you're going to do something for me or you're not. This is the reason why we fail as a community so much. We think everything is a popularity contest where we have to sit here and like someone in order to support them. No. In business, you do business with people you may not agree with. Your ideologies don't agree. But if you have what I need and I have what you need, we could come to somewhat of a middle ground and go from there. People need to understand that politics is money. These politicians get paid every time you vote for them. If you don't vote for them, essentially they don't get paid. Now they can get paid other ways, but like super PACs and lobbying. But black people ain't even there on that level yet to understand that. So, nonetheless, but politics is money. Anytime you vote, you're putting money into a politician. If Biden wants to get the presidential role, that means if he gets it, he gets the presidential salary. I'm not going to elect him to get the presidential salary if he doesn't agree to my terms and what I want from him as the president. In the discussion, the same goes with Trump and his administration. But his administration has said, you know what, we're going to adjust. We're going to sit here and take what you have to say, read it, and we're going to adjust and implement it into policy. I don't see what's so crazy about that. Now, of course, I don't trust Trump or anyone in his administration. I don't trust any of these politicians. As far as I go, all of them are crooked. All of them are liars. All of them are going to tell me what I want to hear just to make me feel better. But nonetheless, I don't see what's wrong with... I could understand if black people were saying, why are you listening to Trump? He's not going to do anything for you anyway. What I'm seeing black people are saying is that we need to vote for Trump. He's racist, as if Joe Biden isn't racist. We've already went over the 94 crime bill that locked up a bunch of brothers. We already looked at what we already discussed about what Kamala Harris did to those black brothers out there in California, had all of them locked up with no evidence. Like, we don't need to go into some of these policies and some of these people's political track record to understand what's really going on around here. I spoke to somebody at work yesterday, and I've been asking people, who you voting for, why you voting. I asked him, who are you voting for? He had said he's voting for Biden and Kamala. I said, why are you voting for them? He said, to get Trump out of office. I said, what's going to change when Trump gets out of office for you as a black man? He said, I haven't really thought about that. I said, do you think that things have changed since Trump has been in office from when Obama was in office? He said, nah, it's actually somewhat been the same. I said, do you think that, I'm just being honest, do you think that police killings are going to stop just because we get Trump out of office? He said, nah, I think we're still going to be racist. So I asked him again, why are you voting? He looked at me and said, I never really thought about that. Older brother, got to be at least 40. He had thought about that. And I'm 23 talking to this dude. He don't know I'm 23, but I'm giving him game that he never thought about. This is this type of stuff that once you think a little bit, you start using your brain muscles. Stuff starts to make sense. If you're just voting, he said the first time he voted was for Obama because he was black. I said that, so you just going out here just winging it. I said, you ain't looked at none of these dudes' policies. He said, no, I haven't. I said, you should look at some of these people. I told him I didn't tell him what to do. I said, bro, I said, before you vote, look at these people policies. Look at the stuff that, they're promised. I told him I'm not voting, but if you're going to vote, make sure that you look at these people policies. Look at what they have specifically for you. And if they don't have anything that interests you, you should just be going out here to vote. I said they go for Trump or Kamala. I said both. I told them straight up, both of them racist to me. I mean, Trump or Biden. I said both of them racist to me. I said I don't care who gets in office. It's not going to help black people any differently. And we left the conversation there pretty much. So I mean, it's just, and then also, we'll talk about this too, because I find this very, very, very primitive when black people like to have conversations on public platforms. And I can't necessarily be mad to a certain degree because we are on a public platform that kind of has to have everyone on it. But what I don't like is when white people feel they need to interject their opinions into black issues, as if their opinions somewhat matter in the solution. Like, it was this guy earlier today. He Ice Cube had made a post talking about what was going on. Oh, and somebody had said in the comment section he didn't understand why white people felt the need to interject themselves into white issues. And all he saw was a bunch of white people commenting. And I kind of reiterated to him that exact same thing, basically saying that white people always did it. They always feel like they need to interject themselves in the conversations that don't pertain towards them. Like, that's just the problem. It's somewhat of a white arrogance. And this white dude came into the comment section, basically was like, well, that's racist to sit here and say, and my taxpayer dollars are gonna have to go towards reparations, and that's not fair. And I'm just thinking in my head, like, bruh, Do you realize that the Native Americans got reparations? Do you realize that the Japanese got reparations for the Holocaust? Do you realize that the Jews got and are still getting reparations from America, and they get it off the U.S. budget off the top? They get it before the defense budget is paid for, before everything is paid for. Israel gets that money. And he was saying, but he really didn't have a response to the Jews or the Japanese. I guess he basically said, well, the Native Americans, you know what I'm saying, they not getting monetary money. I'm just thinking in my head, like, bro, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, get the fuck out my comments. Like, bro, stop. Come on. Like, you're talking to somebody who uses common sense and logic. Like, and then he went on to say, you know, because me and him was going into it, and he went on to say, well, you need to read history books because you're racist and you're stuck in the past. And, you know what I'm saying, my great-great-grandfather, I shouldn't have to pay for what my great-great-father did. And I'm just thinking in my head, I told this dude, like, bruh, if that's the way you think, then I need all that wealth back that your ancestors built or got based off of my ancestors' servitude. I want all that back. If that's the game that we playing. So, I mean, you know, this just speaks to the white arrogance that people have. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I ain't saying all people are racist. I'll never say that. You'll never hear that come out of my mouth. But some of these white people, man, they just, you know what I'm saying? You got, it's I think it's 3 or 4 types of white people in this world. It's white people that are just plain racist. There are white people that don't know they're racist. And then there's white people that deny that they are racist. And then there are people that are not racist. That's 4. And there's a really kind of 4 different things. Because there's some people that, you know what I'm saying, deny that they're racist. They act like they're down for you. You know what I'm saying? They just are in denial. And then there are some people that are just unaware. Like, they didn't know. Some people just don't know. It's just in them to be that way. And then there are some people that just are stern racist. And that's another thing he said. He said that black people are racist. And I had to school him like, bro, are you aware that black people cannot be racist? We can be prejudiced. You know what I'm saying? And we have a right to be prejudiced. After 400 years of this shit, like, I have a right to be prejudiced against you. Especially with the shit still going on. And I was like, bro, like, do you not see the Eurocentric education system? You know what I'm saying? Like, look at the food they giving us. Look at the redlining that's done to us. Look at all the stuff that's done to us medically. Like, just sit here and just act and be oblivious. That's why I say there's 4 type of white people in this country. Just to sit here and act like there's nothing going on or a system against black people. It's just crazy to me. And that leads me to my next topic. You know, talking about racist people. My next topic is going to be, it's actually on an article. I saw Tariq posted this the other day. And I kind of wanted to touch on it a little bit. It basically is an article. I'm pulling it up right now to discuss it. The article is named "Fed Up. These Black Americans say it's time to get out of the U.S." It is by Emily Peck. She looks to be a white woman. I can't necessarily see her face, but it was done on Yahoo News. And basically, the article goes that there's a 28-year-old African-American woman, Devon Keatso Creed, is planning to leave the United States. And the reason why she said she basically wants to leave the United States. Oh, she's also leaving the United States with her white husband, but she's leaving the United States due to racial injustice. Okay, so let's break this down a little bit here. Let me take these headphones off. All right, so this girl here is basically leaving the country because of. And I hate anytime I have to really like go into this because I hate talking bad about black people. I really do. But first of all, let's digest. Let's talk about this for a little bit. So she's an African American woman who is married to a white dude. Problem number 1 for me. The next problem is you're leaving America because of racism and you're African American. There's nothing more disrespectful to your people than to leave the ancestral ground that they fought so hard for you to be on. Like, that's crazy as hell to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're disrespecting Thurgood Marshall. You're disrespecting Frederick Douglass. You're disrespecting Ida B. Wells. You're disrespecting Harriet Tubman. You're disrespecting all these people who done all this shit on this great land because your ass is scared. And you got just so, and this goes to the third problem I have with this article. Your ass got an article written about you leaving the country with your white husband to go to Ecuador because of racism. As if racism doesn't affect every country in this world. We're going to talk about later some of the stuff that these Europeans have done to other countries in the across the world. But, yo, this girl here is just lost. She's saying that she's going to leave America with her white husband to go to Ecuador because of racism. My people are lost. And this sister here, you know, I don't want to disrespect her and her husband. I think the article say that she has children, but you can't sit here and complain about racism with a white husband. That's kind of a contradiction. You got a white husband, but you complain about racism from white people. What? And then you I think you have kids with them. That's even a bigger contradiction. Then you want to move to Ecuador. You don't want to. I can see if she said she want to move to Africa. I can see if she said she want to move to Jamaica. You know what I'm saying? Somewhere, you know, somewhere like that. Australia. You want to move to Ecuador. What? Like, come on, man. Like, people need to wake up, man. People need to wake up out of this sleep and slumber that they are in. My people are sound asleep. This lady here is so confused. And the vast majority of us are confused. You have a white husband. You can't talk black to me. You understand? You can't talk black issue. You might as well stay here in America. To me, you got a white husband. Just stay here. He'll have more. You'll have more of a chance of advancing here in America than you will anywhere else. You have a white husband. Just stay here. You're going to Ecuador trying to escape racism. That is beyond me. But like, you know, I didn't finish the Ice Cube conversation. And these two kind of tie together on the reason why, to me, we don't need to vote. And I'm not telling someone not to vote. This is what I basically tell people. I tell people, don't vote if you do not see your agenda lined up in these political figures' agendas. This girl here said that she's leaving due to racism that was created by this country. Like, I'm not going anywhere. This is my ancestral home ground, and I'm going to get my respect here no matter what. Period, point blank. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I built this. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like segues into the next topic that I want to talk about. Let's talk about where do I want to start? Because I kind of wanted to get into some of the stuff that we did during. I wanted to get into some of the stuff that we did during slavery and before slavery. I want to talk about some, you know, black inventions and stuff like that. But where do I want to start? Let's start with Granville T. Woods. I think people should also take notes on this also. Granville T. Woods, he invented the auto fishing device. Charles Drew, he invented the plasma bag, the blood plasma bag. Lewis Latimer, we're gonna touch on him a little bit later. Well, you know, we can touch on Lewis Latimer right now. So Lewis Latimer, essentially, I think he was one of the people that worked for Thomas Edison. And if you know anything about Thomas Edison essentially, he was stealing people's inventions. And it's no secret to that, but he's considered one of America's greatest inventors, but he didn't invent anything. So essentially, I think Thomas Edison has the patent on the light bulb and on the I think he also has the patent on the telephone. But Lewis Latimer is the person who submitted the blueprints for the invention. How does Thomas Edison, a man who supposedly invented these things, have Lewis Latimer submit the blueprint for his inventions? If you came up with the idea for the invention, then you submit the blueprints for the invention because it came out of your head. You don't sit there and have him draw it up as if it's your invention. No, that's a very telling thing, and that speaks to the unjust things that have been done to us as black people throughout history. Like a man by the name of Black Sam, he invented the cotton gin, but his slave master, Eli Whitley, gets credit for it. There's a long list of inventions that happened and were produced during slavery that we'll never know about because we weren't even considered humans at one point. We were considered property. So the fact that we even know who Lewis Latimer is, white people could say that's a blessing from them. Like, yeah, we let you know who invented this. But what about all the other inventors that we'll never know about? Because if you owned a slave, you owned what he produced. So if I create a bird cage during slavery, I don't have to get credit for it because I'm not the slave owner owns me. So whatever I create, he owns. That speaks to something that is very eminent in American history. But let's talk about some other things that black people invented. Garrett Morgan, he invented the gas mask. Thomas Marshall, the fire extinguisher. Alexander Miles, the elevator. The air conditioning unit was invented by a black man by the name of Frederick M. Jones. Those four things are so used in today's society, it doesn't make any sense. If you have an apartment or a townhome, you would be hard for us to find one without a fire extinguisher. You're required by law to have one. The elevator. Everyone uses the elevator across the world. Everyone uses an elevator. There is no business that's around that does not have an elevator. You will be hard pressed to not find an elevator. Elevators are implemented into human society so much. No one uses stairs anymore. If you check into a hotel, they have an elevator. If you go to the mall, they have an elevator. If you go to a office building downtown or anywhere, you're gonna find an elevator. Elevators. Some people's homes have elevators. Like, come on, invented by a black man. The air conditioning unit. Every home has an air conditioning unit. Every car has an air conditioning unit. Invented by a black man. Where will we be? What will we are so spoiled today. We don't even know what we would be able to do without AC. Cold air. There was a time before AC, it was just hot in your house. Now we have AC because of a black man. Like, come on, man. Like, let's go through some other stuff that was invented. Thomas W. Stewart, he invented the mop. John L. Love, he invented the pencil sharpener. John H. Smith, he invented the lawn sprinkler. Sarah Boone invented, I might not be saying her name right, but Sarah Boone, she invented the ironing board. Again, stuff that's used on a day-to-day basis. The ironing board, everyone uses an ironing board. I hope everybody iron their clothes. Don't be out here wrinkled, guys, but you know what I'm saying? The lawn sprinkler. You know what I'm saying? I remember as a kid, I used to play in the lawn sprinkler, never knowing that a black man actually came up with the idea for this. Robert L. Fleming Jr. invented the guitar. Garrett Morgan invented the traffic light. What would we be without a traffic light? You have people outside using their hands to tell people to stop and go. Like, come on. Let's also talk about Jack Daniels, the whiskey. Now, Jack Daniels got his recipe from his slave. Again, you know, his name was Nathan Snares Green. You know what I'm saying? This just, again, speaks to the disrespect of African Americans, and again, why we don't need to go anywhere. We have too much history done here to just be going somewhere else. We built this. I just named a plethora of inventions that we have built on the soil. Like, come on, I don't know how many people, and not even just black people in general, drink Jack Daniels that don't even know that the recipe came from a black man. Jack Daniel's slave made the ingredients, but his name is nowhere near to be found on the whiskey. Like, this is crazy as hell, man. Man, let's give another one. Thomas A. Carrington, the stethoscope. What would be like? Scientists use stethoscopes every single day in their laboratories. Well, I think that the stethoscope is even being used right now during this coronavirus pandemic, and I said pandemic. Let's talk about another stolen invention. A man by the name of Black Sam, he invented the cotton gin, but his master, Eli Whitney, gets credit for it. Come on, like, this is the stuff that we did. The cotton gin was invented by a black man. Come on, man. Like, let's be real here. Let's talk about Dr. Mark Dean. He created the first major computer chip. Philip Ngwali, he invented, basically created the internet. Like, who doesn't use the internet? You're watching this video through the internet. Like, come on, it's so much stuff we have done here. Like, I probably should have looked this up, but I could have swore black people invented the railroads here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think a black man I should look this shit up. It's coming to me now. I think a black man invented the car. You know, Henry Ford gets credit for mass production, but he doesn't get credit for inventing the car. It is. I don't know the name of it, but I'm gonna put it in the video. It just came to me where I can get the source from. There was a black man who basically created the car industry. I'm gonna make sure I post his name in the video. It eludes me right now. But let's talk about Bass Reeves. Bass Reeves was a man who basically was a slave, and he escaped slavery. But before he escaped slavery, he beat up on his slave master. That's something that we need to talk about too. Slave rebellions. I have some of those in my notes. But Bass Reeves essentially is where the idea of the Lone Ranger came from, because like I said, Bass Reeves basically fled his slave master, beat him up, went to Oklahoma, and basically became essentially the first cowboy where he would, catch runaway slaves. I think he caught over 1,000 criminals. And I think he killed 300 of them. Like, he was a bad motherfucker, essentially. And this is where the idea of the Lone Ranger comes. We give white people ideas and then they make money off of it, but don't give us no credit for it. And this is the reason why a lot of times people say the best way to hide the truth is in plain sight. The thing about it is the information out there, the information is out there for us to find out. The problem is we don't do any research. And that's the problem with this European-centered education and doctrine. That's the problem with Western philosophy, is European centered and does not include black people essentially into it. But you know what I'm saying? That's why I'm glad there's people like me out here. So me now. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm grateful for people like Tariq Nasheed, Lord Jamar, people like Anthony T. Browder, people like Dr. Claude Anderson, people like Roku Rashiki, people like Professor James Smalls, people like what his name is, Dr. Yosef Ben Yakin, people like Ivan Van Sertima, John Henrik Clark. Like, these are people who have put in work. They've done the research. They put in hours and years and decades of time into research. And the funny thing about it is most of these, like John Henrik Clark and I think in Ivan Van Sertima and Yosef Ben Yakin, I think they died broke. They didn't die with a lot of money. Dr. Frances Cress Wilson, they had to raise money at her funeral to pay for her funeral. I think Tariq Nasheed said he actually covered the bill. But nonetheless, these people, they supplied us and people like me with the resources in order to basically regurgitate the information to people like you to learn, and they died broke or didn't die with enough money or the money they should have gotten. You know what I'm saying? People like, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, I always use her. I'm not going to use her as an example. People can sit here and tell me who Megan Thee Stallion is. They can sit here and tell me who 6ix9ine is, but they can't tell me any of the people I just named. And some people say they don't even care who those people are, because they were no importance to their lives, when these people did the research, man. They did hours. And they put time in just to sit here and not even get no recognition. But I got them. I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna make sure that they live on through what I have to say, because I want the people that matter to get the credit. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, John Henrik Clark, and I'm gonna say this again so people can look these names up. John Henrik Clark, Ivan Van Sertima. He actually wrote the book that I'm gonna be using as a reference in this video today. I'm trying to get the fucking camera to focus. That came before Columbus. Ivan Van Sertima. Yosef Ben Yakin. I think that's Yosef Ben, and this right should come up, Ben Yakin. What her name is? Dr. Francis Cress Wilson. Another great person right there. I said most of these people's names already. I'm pretty sure everybody know who Tariq Nasheed is. Dr. Claude Anderson, you know what I'm saying? He's one of the, you know what I'm saying, last great people still living. Anthony T. Browder. I'm going to be using some of his research references in this video. Like, these people have put in work, man, and don't get no credit. But like I said, I'm going to make sure I give them their credit, man. Speaking of Anthony T. Browder, he did something called Egypt on the Potomac. It's a field trip. And basically the field trip basically lays out the plan for the capital of the United States. So if you've ever been to the U.S. Capitol, the Capitol is laid out in a cross, or the mall is laid out in a cross, with the Capitol in the east, the Lincoln Memorial in the west, the Jefferson Memorial in the south, and the White House in the north. In the center, there is a Washington Monument. Well, there is the Washington Monument, aka an obelisk, but the obelisk is another word for a tekenu, and that basically comes from Egypt. And I know I talk about Egypt a lot, but Egypt is essentially where they get most of this stuff from. Like, it speaks to the greatness of Africa that they won't tell you. You understand what I'm saying? Like, they won't, if they just talked about this stuff on the news, like what I just said, you know what I'm saying, the past 10 minutes. Imagine the lives we can change just with those Black American inventions in themselves. But let's keep going. Like I said, in the center is an obelisk, and it's an ancient African monument, and it's basically it's the symbol of resurrection of Asar or Osiris, the Greek Egyptian deity. How Egypt was supposed to look, it was supposed to basically have a pyramid, and a man by John Russell Pope basically submitted the pyramid as an idea for the Lincoln Memorial. And of course it got rejected because, you know what I'm saying, if you put a pyramid in the middle of Washington, D.C., people are going to kind of absolutely know where you got it from, because the three pyramids of Giza basically, or the Great Pyramid, or actually all three of the pyramids, but the Great Pyramid of Giza is the world's oldest and one of the wonders of the world, and it's the oldest living still standing structure. But nonetheless, the idea of using a pyramid for the Washington Monument or the Lincoln Memorial actually got rejected. They actually took Henry Bacon's copy of the Greek Parthenon. Basically, they used their own shit, which is somewhat fine by me, but they still used our shit, which was the obelisk in the middle. That's basically in the middle of Washington. But Daniel French basically came up with the idea for Lincoln statue also. And Lincoln statue basically was copied and derived from Ramses II statue in Egypt. And if you know anything about Ramses, he has statues of himself all over Egypt. You'll be hard pressed to find no statue of him. He has statues all over Egypt. He made sure that he was known throughout history. Let's also talk about the Egypt on the Potomac. If you look into the Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, the U.S. Constitution basically says the new capital will be no longer than a 10-mile square. So basically it's going to be a big square, essentially. George Washington said he wanted the capital to be built along the Potomac River, with Maryland on the east and Virginia on the west. He basically hired Andrew Ellicott, and then Andrew Ellicott basically hired Benjamin Banneker. Now, Benjamin Banneker was a black man. He basically invented the Almanac, and basically he was hired to survey the heavens so that the 10-mile square will be aligned with the sun, the moon, the stars, and the planets. Basically, he wanted them to be they wanted the Egypt, not Egypt. They wanted the Washington D.C., the capital, to be aligned with the heavens, essentially. He basically he recorded the movement of the stars and everything like that. That was basically his job, to make sure everything lined up. Ellicott used Banneker's notes to create a sight line so that the 10-mile square would properly align with the heavens. That goes to that square, like I said. And basically, they worked together for 2.5 months, and they wanted to basically create spiritual energy from the heavens to basically ascend down onto Washington and basically the United States. You know what I'm saying? Like, but all of this goes back to Egypt anyway, because I don't know if I said this already. The Egyptian pyramids basically align with Orion's belt. If we go back to the Dogon tribe in Africa, they basically they knew about Sirius B before Europeans did. So this is no new thing for black people to basically be in tune with the stars. This is something that we are the original people, so we're able to do that. So that's why they basically hired him, because he was good at his job and he knew what he was doing. But basically how they did it, and also Thomas Jefferson oversaw the project, of course. But they wanted to how they basically did it was they ran a 10-mile sight line to the northeast and the northwest. They also ran a 10-mile sight line to the southeast and to the southwest. That way, that's how they basically created the square, essentially. So each point will basically point north, it will point west, it will point east, and it will point south. And basically, they did it at James Point, Alexandria in Virginia. And that's basically where they started, and that's where they would run the sight lines. And then from there, they created, established a meridian line that would be the midpoint of the square, and that it would be the exact position of the sun at high noon on the vertical equinox. This is essentially came from Benjamin Banneker. He basically was the person who surveyed the heavens and basically gave them the blueprint for how to line Washington, D.C., the capital, up with the heavens. Because from there, that's how they basically came up with the idea of the square, and how they then came up with the idea for the cross. And then basically the Tekenu, or the obelisk, would basically be a gateway for energy to come down from the heavens to them. Like I said, they thought this thing very well out, for sure. The Washington Monument is 555 feet tall, and if you look inside of it, you could Google this also. There's a winged sun disk. Winged sun discs are very, very prominent in Egypt tombs. Egyptian tombs. You can also find a Tekenu, 2 of them actually, in the front of George Washington's grave site, along with him and his wife. There's one on the left and one on the right. And you also can find a Tekenu in front of Thomas Jefferson's grave site. It's something about these Tekenus. They tell us that we just need to have a regular brick square, but the most important people in American history get Tekenus, because again, the Tekenu basically means the ascension, to rise up. So they basically wanted them to ascend into heaven. But that goes to the deep metaphysical aspect of things that, most people don't think of when you're, that's why they say the best way to hide stuff is in plain sight. Because somebody would think that's some Illuminati foolishness, when actually that's an ancient African tradition to have an obelisk. It means to ascend, essentially. But let's keep going down the line. The Great Seal. If you know it, if you look at the Great Seal, it's nothing but Horus's falcon essentially. If you look at the Great Seal, he has a disc on top of his head. The Americans have an eagle. Horus was represented by a falcon. Both have very keen eyesight. If you also look, both of them have stars. Both of them also have maybe not stars. I don't have it in front of me, but I know both of them have objects in their talons. Horus's has an ankh. The Great Seal of America has bows and arrows and wheat. You can tell clearly which one derives from which. Let's also touch on something else. If we look at the American flag is very similar to Asar's throne. You can see the American flag on his throne. You know what I'm saying? You can see the dotted stars, and you can see the lines. Like, you can tell where they got this stuff from. But they won't tell you any of this, because if they tell it to you, then you would do research. And if you do research, you would find the truth. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to let people know the truth, because the truth has been hidden from us for so long that all we know is lies. And you know what I'm saying? How can a country that was built on lies is not gonna survive? Which is why me and a lot of black people are like, know that this country is not gonna last too much longer, because it was built on lies. It was built on deceit. You know what I'm saying? Like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so much stuff that has been done to keep us disenfranchised that people just don't know. You know what I'm saying? They do movies saying that the ancient Egyptians were white. You know what I'm saying? When we can go on the tomb of Ramses II and see the depictions of him describing the people that will come, who were visitors in Kemet, and who actually were the Kemites or the Egyptians. He laid it out perfectly fine. We can go into the temple of Seti I and find the exact same thing. They knew who they were. You know what I'm saying? Like the Greeks, who basically, you know what I'm saying, were neighbors of the Egyptians. Greek philosophers like Herodotus and others, they said that the Egyptians were black. They would do trade with them. You know what I'm saying? They would do deals with them. They said that they were black. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Theodorus, he said the Egyptians were black. We even found the city named Heracleion. It's a sunken city in Egypt where they would do business at. It was a port hub for the Egyptians to do business with other countries and other civilizations. You know what I'm saying? Civilizations like the Greeks and others will come to Egypt to learn how to read, how to write. They will just be astonished at the Egyptian monuments like the Sphinx. You know what I'm saying? This is our history, man. This is stuff that we did. But books won't tell you any of this. Not books won't tell you any of this. European-centered doctrine won't tell you this. Books like this will tell you this. I'm trying to get the focus. They came before Columbus will tell you this. Civilization of Barbarism will give you is a good book to get. What's another good book to get? The Isis Papers is a good book to get. The Black Bible of Science is a good book to get. What's another? It's so many goddamn good books to get, man. It just don't make any sense. If you want to know something about history, pick up a damn book. You know what I'm saying? Don't be afraid to do research. I also want to touch on, because I haven't done this yet. Let's touch on how the Tekenu or the obelisk became the symbol of ascension, essentially. So basically, how the story goes. The story basically goes that Osiris or Osar. Osiris is the Greek name for Osar. Osiris basically was the king of Egypt. He was killed by his brother, Set. Set cut his body into 13 pieces, depending on which story you read, and scattered them across the Nile. And then from there, his wife, Aset, or the Greek word would be Isis, basically found all the pieces and basically fled Egypt with her sister, and basically she remembered her husband but could not find one of the pieces. She only found 12. So she basically cried and wept because she had never consummated her marriage. Consummated meaning had sex. They never had sex. They never had, a firstborn, and never had a child. And basically Osar or Osiris, his spirit visited her and basically impregnated her. And this is where we get the first story of a virgin birth or an immaculate conception. Born on the December 25th, by the way. Does that sound? It sounds familiar, doesn't it? It predates any biblical story, just to let you know that, by 3,000 to 4,000 years. Just to throw that out there. It predates it, the biblical story itself. But that's another topic for another day. But this is basically the where the Egyptians basically created the obelisk. Because the obelisk, like I said, it means ascension, basically the rising of Osar, the rising of, you know what I'm saying, of you, essentially. That's the reason why all these great American figures have obelisks in front of their tombs, because they want their great people to rise, essentially, into heaven, essentially. That's essentially what it means. What else do I want to talk about? Let's see where else I want to go with this. Keep talking about Egypt. Egypt has one of the oldest forms of a legal system, being Ma'at. Ma'at is the oldest legal system on the planet. You will not find one that predates it. They will sit here and tell you that Greece has, or the Romans had a ancient one, but Greece goes back to no later than 1000 BC, and that's stretching it. Rome doesn't go back any further than at least 300 BC. So, and the Egyptians go back, we can't even really put a date on how far they go back. They like to say 3200 BCE, but that's just when Narmer unifies Upper and Lower Egypt. You know what I'm saying? The oldest cemetery in the world comes from basically the south of the Sudan. You know what I'm saying? It goes back 75,000 years. It goes back to 75,000 BC. That's over 9,000 years ago. Egyptian civilization, you can't put a date on it. These people have been doing anything since, it's too fucking long, is all I could goddamn say, man. Like, getting ahead of myself saying that. But nonetheless, let's talk about the Nuke people, N-O-K. The Nuke people have one of the oldest examples of swearing someone in. Basically, like, swearing someone in, like put your hand on the Bible, that type of shit. Even though there was no Bible, but just the idea of swearing someone in, that comes from them. They also have the oldest form of a higher court. You know what I'm saying? If you ever been to court, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's the lower court and there's the Supreme Court. That's essentially where that comes from. Like, and you basically would stand between two monoliths and basically stand before a god or the sun, essentially. It's just crazy, you know what I'm saying, the stuff that we have done and the stuff that people don't even know about. Let's talk about karma. Karma has one of the, I already said this, you know what I'm saying, I just said this already, I'm just going through my notes, but I'm going to say it again. Karma has one of the oldest cemeteries in the world, dating back to 75,000 BCE. Come on, man, they have one of the oldest, they have one of the oldest, if not the oldest form or hieroglyph of cattle domestication in the Sudan. That means these people were herding sheep and herding cattle in 75,000 BCE. There was no Greece, there was no Sumeria, there was no Rome, there was no Phoenician, there was none of that. There was black people doing the black thing, doing what black people do best. You know what I'm saying? Let's also talk about, I did not do this. I'm kind of going over it all over the place. Let's talk about some slave rebellions right quick. San Miguel de Guape, 1526. That was a slave rebellion. And this is just in my notes right now, so that's why I'm talking about it. You can look all of this stuff up. The New York Slave Revolt, 1712. I'm saying it again. The New York Slave Revolt, 1712. The Chesapeake Rebellion, 1730. The Stoner Rebellion, 1735. The Gabriel Prosser Rebellion, 1800. The German Coast Uprising, this is where you get New Orleans from, 1811. The Denmark Vesey Rebellion, 1822. Probably the most notable rebellion, the Nat Turner Rebellion in 1839. Like we have rebelled so much, and it's. I wish I'd remembered this earlier. But this is the reason why we don't need to go nowhere else. We have so much history here. These are rebellions done by black people here. Don't ever let nobody sit here and tell you that black people was just dealing with slavery and trying to get by, and don't let nobody just paint a picture to your head that slave people just, running away in the night trying to get away from white people. No, we fought back. We are a fighting people. Don't ever let nobody tell you that you did not fight back, and don't let nobody scare you from leaving here. This is our country. We built this. Shit. Let's also talk about what else I want to talk about. Let's talk about one of the oldest churches in the world. And I wish I would have wrote this down too. There are churches all over Europe that were once Moorish churches. I wish I would have wrote most of them down, but nonetheless, I can go. This is good about knowing history. You can remember some of this stuff. There are Moorish churches all over Europe that were Moorish churches at one point, then were conquered by Christian or Roman empires, essentially. I think there's a painting called Blackamoor or something like that. I'm gonna make sure that I look it up. Well, if I can't find it, oh well. But I'm gonna make sure I look it up where it shows basically the Moors basically fighting the Christians. It's a painting depiction, and you know what I'm saying, this is just some of the stuff that went on in Europe. We did our thing. The Moors civilized Europe essentially. Don't let nobody tell you that that the Moors were Arabs. That is a far-fetched, incomplete truth. Really just a lie almost. The Moors were not. They were Arab. They were Muslim, but not Arab. The Moor comes from Morocco. Moor means black. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's essentially put what it is. Don't let nobody. People get Arab and Moor synonymous with one another. Arab is a people. Islam or Muslim is a religion. And yes, some of these people may have been Muslim, but they were not Arab. They were black. End of that goddamn story. And the Moors and black people essentially civilized Europe. If you do any research and look into the Dark Ages, the Moors came into Europe and civilized these people. That's actually the second time we civilized them. We civilized them with Greece. That's where Greece comes from. But that's another topic for another day. There will be no Greece without Egypt. But I'll talk about some of these churches. St. Mary Zion Church is one of the oldest churches in the world. It's one of the 10 oldest churches in the world. St. George Church of Lalibela in Ethiopia. This is a church that is built underground. Yeah. The church is built underground, man. You know what I'm saying? The stuff that we did is just phenomenal. We built a church underground. Now, how we did it, I'll say in a minute. Let's talk about another church. The Rock, I might be saying this wrong. The Rock Hewan Church of Milcom in Ethiopia. This is a church built on the side of a mountain. Now, while these are great monuments that we did, great achievements, we basically did them being under persecution of the Queen of Ethiopia at the time, because of course, you know what I'm saying, Christianity or the form of any Abrahamic tradition is not indigenous or, you know what I'm saying, per se African. We got those under being forced to do that, but nonetheless, that just goes to show what we can do when we're on a board with one another. Another black man by the name of Black Saint Maurice. He was a great knight and commander in the Roman army. I wish I would have wrote the date around, but I know it was after 1000 BCE. After 1000 AD. But yeah, man, that's a bunch of stuff that we have done. Tariq Ibn Ziyad was the commander of a 10,000 army in Spain. He's a black man, you know what I'm saying, like doing his thing in Spain. Now, we're not going to get into how he got that role, but nonetheless, you know what I'm saying, that I'm just using these as examples to show our importance in not only in African culture, but in European culture, because there would not be a European culture if it wasn't for African culture. And I also want to talk about some of the stuff. It's kind of it's just this is a good and bad thing. It's a bad thing because it shows the savagery of white people, but it also shows how us not sticking together as a people always comes to our demise. Let's talk about the people of Benin in Nigeria. They had a great wall. It took them about 400 years to create it. It was around 800 to 1200 AD when it was created. It was longer than the Great Wall of China. It was much longer than that, and it was destroyed by the British. A great African civilization wiped from the face of the earth. Let's go to another one. The Quiloa Salante Virgo. They were wiped out by the Portuguese, and Vasco da Gama was the person leading it. Looted the city, wiped the people out. This is why we need to be unified, man. When we're not unified, this type of stuff happens to us. We need to understand who we are dealing with in the history of who we are dealing with. That's the reason why most of us are so unaware of the savagery of these people, because we don't know what they've done throughout history to us. Don't think just because this new white person is not the same white person of old. It's the same person. Don't think that just because they are shaving now and you know what I'm saying, they're rocking suits and man buns. No, fuck that. It's the same person. And again, not every white person is racist, but some of them tap into this side of their DNA, sadly. And I'm using these as an examples of African civilizations that were wiped out. The Tasmanian people. I'm not even looking at my notes. It just came to me. Wiped out. They completely wiped them from existence. This is what white people did, essentially. Let me find out who did it and when they goddamn did it. It was done by the British. You're gonna always find the British, the Portuguese, the French, and the Spanish they're gonna always be at the forefront of some African civilization get blown to pieces. And these people were wiped out from existence. We can't even find they're no longer. The only reason why we know about them is because of modern history recordings. If history wasn't recorded the way it was, we wouldn't even know who those people was. Let's talk about the Kumasi in Ghana. They were blown up. Timbuktu was one of its biggest cities. It was ransacked by Europeans. Ransacked. Like, this is why we have to stick together, man. This is why all that tribalism in Africa, all that is irrelevant, man. This is why us over here fighting one another for trinkets from white people is irrelevant. This is the reason why when I sit here and I talk to, some of these people from, not all of them, but some of these people from Jamaica and, you know what I'm saying, from Haiti and, from the homeland of Africa who just always had to come over here and say it's our fault and we need to get over slavery. And like, I don't think you understand, like most of this stuff was done, like, Kumasi in Ghana, that was done in Africa. Like, come on, like, the Quiloa Sante Virgo, that was in Africa. Like, this was done, the Benin, Nigeria, that was done. This is history. These people blew your history to shreds. Before, like, even start knocking us and putting us in chains, they blew it to shreds. Your history and your lineage and your detriment is the same as mine. It's no different. It's one common enemy in all of this. But they want to say it's our fault. No, we need to come together, and that's the reason why I sit here and I always will support ADOS and Foundation of Black Americans. I could just never let the Pan-African thing go. You know what I'm saying? I know it's hard pressed and people don't like to hear that. And I know a lot of times it's hard to sit here and, you know what I'm saying, support it. But I can't let it go because black people across the world have been disenfranchised. And once we unify and figure it out that we need to unify, imagine what we can do. I already know when us as African Americans get on the same page what it's going to be. It's going to be bomb, diggity bomb. But imagine if every black person in the world say, you know what, damn the beefs, damn the disagreements, damn all that. Let's work together and let's come together for for a common goal to end racism, period. Imagine if we did that as black people across the world, man. Imagine what we could do. I already know what we can do as African Americans. I see it. I literally see what we can do as African Americans. Imagine what we could do. Africa has the largest amount of resources on the planet. No country can survive without Africa. Imagine if Africa got on the same page. Come on, man. Like, let's just be real here, man. Like this, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know this video, it's over an hour now, but I mean, like, yo, I had to do this video, man. You know what I'm saying? Like I did last week. I titled the video, the Miseducation of the American Negro. You know what I'm saying? Though I touched on some African history, I had to make sure I touched on American history. And like I said, my message is designated for black people across the diaspora, but I speak specifically to black people here in America. We need to know this stuff, man. We need to know about, you know what I'm saying, the African civilizations that were great. We need to know about some of the African civilizations that were destroyed. There were more. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have pages of stuff. There's some stuff I left out because, I mean, I could talk about this for another 3-4 hours if I wanted to, about the stuff that we've done. You know what I'm saying? But this is why knowing history is important. And even if you don't know all of history, learn some damn history, man. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing worse than being the guy in the room that people are talking about the greatness of their ancestors, and all you can do is just tell them that you descend from slaves. There's nothing more embarrassing than that. And I decided I didn't want to be that guy. It never came up for me to have to be that guy, but I noticed that there was certain stuff I did not know, and the more stuff I did not know, I was like, yo, I got to figure this out. I got to learn history. History is our gateway to understand what we went wrong and what we can do right in the future. I look at I'm getting this out the way. I look at there's a common theme in African history of where we're always divided before we get conquered. Every single civilization we have, damn, these birds, they always chirping all crazy all of a sudden. There's always division among us before we get conquered. We need to come together as African Americans. I'm going to always say or stand to hold on that. And also Africans across the diaspora. Once we understand we need to unify, we can do so much things. KRS-One said this in an interview with Nick Cannon. He said the white people's ability to basically come together based on of their inabilities, like, because white people are a minority on the planet. You understand? Once they circumnavigated the planet, finally, they found they were a minority and black people were everywhere. And once they also found out that once black can produce white, but white can't produce black. Once they figured that out, they had to come together under a common goal. Like, okay, we may not be able to do this, but we got to do this. We as black people simply just are. And we've never really had to come together for anything. And we need to do that. Once we come together, change the world, man. But I'm gonna get up out of here. Please like and subscribe to the video. Make sure you comment, make sure you share the video. And that's this week's broadcast. Trade the Creator. I'm out.